Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Overtures. You might have noticed that it doesn't say StreamYard up in this corner anymore. It says Melon. I'm trying a different streaming platform today. Hopefully, all works well. We'll try it out and we'll see how it goes. But hi, welcome, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well on this wonderful Friday afternoon. Welcome to episode 2. And to introduce this episode, I'm going to start with playing a short little clip. First, I'm going to start by sharing my screen so you can see said clip. And yes, hold on just a moment. We love technology and we love it when it works. Awesome. Enjoy this clip. Hold on just a moment. Technical difficulties. I said enjoy this clip and then I didn't have it start playing on your all's end. Thanks for bearing with me, y'all. Here we go. Oh, don't buffer on me today. I apologize, folks. Sharing media live while streaming can be hard, and I appreciate you all for bearing with me. It'll be worth it, I promise. As long as we can just get her to load. I'm so sorry for this, folks. I wanted to introduce my guest today by having this wonderful clip of her singing, because she's a stunning singer. Unless this finishes buffering in the next few seconds. Oh, it's kind of threatening. You know, I tried, and that's what the goal was. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Hold on just a moment. But you know what? That's okay, because you know what I do have? I have her bio. And we'll get to meet her in person. So that's the most important part. But go to her website, which I'll promote in just a second, and you can watch that full clip as well as some other ones. We'll try sharing some clips later on and see if that works. Crossing fingers. But the bio of my guest today. My guest today is an actress from Philadelphia and is currently a senior theater performance major at good old Wagner College. Outside of theater, she's got a love for sketch comedy, iced coffee, and her dog, Mabel. Post-graduation, she hopes to be starring in the next great American sitcom, but is also in the process of obtaining her New York real estate license just in case. This gal is literally one of the hardest workers that I know and is truly one of the best people that you can work with on a creative endeavor. And I'm so glad to call her my good friend. So here is Lauren Bergen.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulty.
Oh my God, no worries.
Earlier, but
absolutely no worries. It's on my YouTube, my website,
exactly. So go
probably
to
my Instagram.
Yes, go to www.laurenbergen.com, and under media, we have some amazing videos of her singing and some of her writing, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, that clip is just so good. I love it. Your vibrato on it. I'm just like, ugh.
Oh, thank you. That's
stunning singing.
Truly like one of my favorite performances ever. That was so much fun.
Yeah, it looks like you're having fun in the video too, and that's one of the best parts. But yeah, how are you? How are you doing today?
I am doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just hanging out, trying to overcome technical difficulties, but other than that, doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for any context for people viewing today, how do we know each other? We know each other from good old Wagner College. Good old Wagner College. We are those friendly singers who move in your dance class, be it in ballet
exactly.
or modern. I just remember being on the ballet bar together and being like, will it be confusing for Carissa if you have a Lauren and a Lora right next to each other? Who knows? But
it didn't stop us.
No, it definitely didn't stop us.
No.
But particularly in modern, I just want to say how much you grew as a dancer. It was so cool, like taking class together. Like I got to see like how much you were learning, and you ended up like being a TA later on for.
I was, yeah.
That was so cool to hear.
Fall of 2019.
Yeah,
I was Carissa's TA.
So we're singers who move, but we know what we're doing. We know what
exactly.
We're doing. But yeah. How did you first get started into theater? I don't think we've ever talked about this together. But how did you get
either?
Yeah, how did you get started?
When I was younger, my parents just sort of threw me into a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. We really tried sports. We really did. Didn't work exactly. Did not work out that way. But then we signed up for dance classes, and I was really vibing with those. Eventually, I signed up for a summer camp, or they signed me up, I should say. I was like 8 years old for a local summer camp that was through a community theater near me. And we were writing this show, which was like basically we all sort of wrote our own little skits and put them all together, and they were all fairy tale themed.
Oh, that's
and
fun.
I was Goldilocks, who was the villain throughout the entire thing.
Ooh.
I know. And then
to be fair, she kind of is.
She is. It makes sense. But I ended up singing a duet with this girl. I think we turned Stay With Me from Into the Woods into a duet because it was some sort of scene where the two of us were witches. And my parents were like, wait, she doesn't suck at this. So then, especially like later on in elementary school, middle school, I got involved with the choir and things like that, and then started taking voice lessons. I think what really sealed the deal, for me though, was when I was 12 years old. My mom took me to see Wicked at the Kimmel Center. I feel like this is how every preteen girl gets involved in theater, but it's Wicked. It makes sense. But we went to see Wicked at the Kimmel Center, and when we were driving back, I said to her, Mom, I want to be Elphaba. And she was like, okay, honey. So I was like, no, Mom, like, I want to be Elphaba, like, on stage doing that. And she just sort of looked at me and was like, oh, okay. And then I had full support from her and my dad then on out, got super involved, more so with, like, community theater, high school theater, and all that stuff. Auditioned for colleges and ended up at Wagner.
That's so awesome. No, I think the Wicked thing definitely, like, trying sports and being like, oh, maybe not, definitely resonates with me personally, as well as like, Wicked. Because like, I think I was introduced to Wicked in and around middle school age. And then I was like, oh, this is so fun. Like I grew up like watching like Music Man and things like that. So to then like hear something like Wicked was like completely different. And I was like, oh yeah. So like I definitely like we're definitely in that generation where it was like, okay, this affected this group of people.
I feel like too, it ended up being just like the first time I actually opened up a playbill, because I had been to Broadway shows and things like that before. I fortunately grew up with grandparents who lived only a half hour outside the city. Gotcha. So they would take me when I was younger to see the Disney Broadway shows and things like that. And I still think about those constantly. But I think Wicked in particular, for some reason, that show was like the first time I opened up a playbill, and it just sort of clicked in my head that people do this for a living.
Yeah.
And then Wicked in itself as a show had such an impact in like the storytelling aspect of it. And I mean, everything, because it's Wicked essentially, to the point where I was like, oh, so I can do that for a living. Got it. On board. So
yeah, absolutely. Sure. So would you say that was like also, freezing for a moment. I hope we're okay.
I can still hear you, so you're good.
Okay, cool. We're back. Okay. At least you can hear me, and that's the most important part. In terms of like the question that I always try and ask on this show, like what was that light bulb moment of this is what I want to do with my life? Was that Wicked for you?
100%. 100%. For sure.
Yeah. No, I had a similar thing where it was like that moment of realizing of like, oh, other people do this for a living. That's fun. I want to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like once you realize it's also a job, it's like, oh, okay. In terms of like your own like occupation, title, job in the theater, what's the order that you list for yourself? Is it like actor, singer, dancer? How do you classify yourself?
It has changed so
Yeah.
many times, I feel like, but more so as of late, actor, singer, dancer, I would say.
Mhm.
Especially over the past year. Because I like took a year off from school and everything, really diving into while I was home, like, okay, how can I be creative, still stay involved, and things like that. And there were a lot of places that were offering like online classes. One of them was the acting studio in New York, which was about 3 months, I want to say. Yeah, it was like from the end of March into early June.
Gotcha.
And it just taught introduction to Meisner technique. And I really got hands on with that. And at the time, also just to stay creative in terms of Zoom, it's 10 times easier to do a straight play on Zoom than it is to do a musical for obvious like
Right.
technical reasons and things like
Yeah.
that. So I just started doing more straight plays that way too. And it just really started to pique my interest. And even right before then too, right before we got sent home at Wagner, we were taking classes in like Shakespeare and that kind of more classical acting. And I was really vibing with Shakespeare. Just something about that in particular really clicked in my head for me. So I think I was able more recently, at least, to fortunately like focus on that a little bit more. However, like I'm taking like all the musical theater classes, still kept up with my singing and dancing as well. Just acting specifically over the past year, it was like, oh, this is kind of what I'm gravitating a little bit more towards when being
Yeah.
home. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like as theater artists, we need to wear many hats, you know? And
Hmm.
so to have all those different avenues is always super fun and super helpful because like sometimes you wear the writer's hat, sometimes you wear the director's hat as well in particular.
Hmm.
But no, you are an exceptional singer. You've had like I would describe you as having like this classic sound, but then you've also been discovering your belt over the years, which has been so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah. The other day in Acting 5, we started with like, Acting 5 is like the class where you sort of build your audition book and monologues and things like that right before
Coming
you,
to senior showcase.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
a whole other beast in itself. But as we were working through like our rep and everything like that, golden age and like the contemporary classic like 60s to 80s musical theater, I was like, okay, this is my comfort zone. This I'm happy with. And then as we were getting more into contemporary musical theater, our professor Wendy Cavett, literally one of my favorite people. I even said to her when we were working on it, I was like, don't ask me why. The minute I hear contemporary musical theater, like the word contemporary freaks me out for no reason. And she's like, okay, let's explore that. And then we worked a whole lot more on my belt that way. And then I was able to bring that into my voice lessons. And it really has definitely been getting better, I would say. But for
Yeah, and
sure,
I
like
think
golden age and things like that is like where my heart lies,
and
essentially.
to have one of those professors though who it's like, "Oh, you're scared of this thing. Let's figure out how to make it not scary." As
Hmm.
opposed to just being like, "Oh, do more of it," you know, like that I think that
Hmm.
approach of like, "Okay, let's find out what makes it like nerve-wracking."
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
it's so helpful. Okay, I'm trying to share my screen again because we have this wonderful clip of you from Kiss Me Kate, like
Oh
singing
gosh.
so
Okay.
in love, singing so in love for Kiss Me Kate. We're gonna try
Yes.
it. We're gonna see what happens. But I have a time marker for myself because yeah, no, you just sound beautiful on it.
Oh, thank you.
Of
Kiss Me Kate's
course.
one of my favorites.
It's a good role for you and just such a good like vocal part. Um, just make sure to turn on your volumes, folks. Oh, so beautiful. And we love that it loaded. We love that it loaded. I love that. Hooray! You're able to share some of your singing live. No, and it's so cool because like you, even in that, you can hear your classic, but when you go into that higher note, you got a little bit of belt under there, which is really fun.
I know, yeah.
Power underneath it. But yeah, that clip and the other clip were both from Germany. Yes. What was that experience like?
Honestly, the best 3 weeks of my life. This is actually a great way to advertise. It was Orfeo Vocal Arts Academy. They just opened up auditions again for summer 2022.
Oh, hey,
and the deadline is December 1st. So this is me officially marketing that on
how do you
your
spell that?
live stream.
Yeah, go for it.
ORFEO and then Vocal Arts Academy.
Cool.
But
Amazing.
it is a program. Yeah, it's a program that my voice teacher, Alan Dornat, created for students both at Wagner, and he also teaches at AMDA, but also just like friends thereof as well. Like it's not just specific to those two schools or specifically like just the theater program or just his students or anything. It's open to everybody in WCT and the music programs. But it is a 3-week long training program where you go through singing lessons, acting lessons, and then like working with an accompanist on like musicality in your songs and things like that, on top of daily German lessons. And then they take you on not only, it was so fun. It was so fun. What was funny too is I found over there, like German people are very nice when they know you're an American trying to speak German. And Alan would always make fun of us or yell at us because like we would say something to someone in German and then they would respond back to us in English, kind of like practicing
Right.
English.
And they're like, don't worry about it. And you're like, no, I'm trying to practice.
I know, exactly. And then Alan would be like, no matter what, you have to respond in German. Like that was just his thing. So, but yes, it was daily German lessons on top of the voice lessons, acting lessons, and music lessons. And then twice a week, you would perform at a different concert venue on top of doing like fun excursions all throughout the week. And the one clip that you tried showing in the beginning was at the Japanese Palace in Dresden, and that was like their big summer concert series, and like over 1,000 people ended up showing up to it.
Gosh.
And we just like opened up, it was a whole summer long festival, and we opened it up.
I love
And
that.
someone came up to me, and it might have been Jamie Bayo, who is a friend of mine who also did the program. It might have been him.
We'll have to get him on here at some point.
You have to. You have to. Yes. But it was either him or Kirsten. I forget who it was, but someone came up to two of us and literally asked us for our autographs. And I was just like, what is this? This is
like,
like,
I just left my school.
I know, I'm like, I'm just in college, like just singing show tunes. Like, what is happening? But that was crazy. And then the other one was at Marcolini Palace, which is like a half hour outside of Dresden, I want to say, give or take, in terms of traffic. But yeah, you get to perform in all sorts of gorgeous places all throughout Germany, like the outskirts of Dresden. And it was truly the best 3 weeks of my life. So if anyone has any questions about that, they can contact me.
Literally contact Lora and throw it in the chat. Like literally
throw it in the chat.
Like
reach out to me. Anyone watching this who has my number can literally just text me. Like I will talk about OVA till the end of time, truly.
Well, and it looks like you guys form such like a tight-knit group, and I feel like sometimes getting out of the location where you're constantly bombarded with all of that, like I love that the fact that you're like, yes, I'm doing all these musical and acting things, but I'm also like learning German and like going around the side. It's like I think it's that healthy mix of things that's so glorious.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, at this point, I'd be like, meine Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Like, but other than that, like, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But such an amazing experience. Like it's been fun to watch several programs over the years and seeing who attends and like how much it does really like expand their horizons in terms of their vocal performance. And I think
absolutely
it affected you so much.
It truly, I credit OVA so much, especially in terms of like my singing voice and my vocal technique, 100%. And even just like you were saying, like to have the opportunity to like do it all in Germany and just go abroad and learn about a completely different culture and go to places that you might not go to otherwise, even just as a person, was just very mind opening
Yeah.
and was just so incredible to experience. And I still like carry those types of things with me,
Yeah.
just sort of like from that experience. So
For sure. And like
yeah,
another like big life-changing experience that you had gone through, and you started to mention this a little bit, but you had taken a gap year this year during the pandemic.
I
Um,
did.
what helped you decide to make that decision? And like, granted, I know that there were many wonderful things that
Hmm.
came out of it, but like, if we want to talk about that a little bit, what led you to
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
for sure. I, for me, I think it was extremely difficult. Like when I talk about this, like I am very grateful that I took it. And I think I truly like I have no regrets about taking it. I think I'm really happy with how everything turned out, but definitely in the moment it was very difficult to make that decision. But the biggest thing for me was like going into senior year of college
Right.
for me and just sort of one at the time. I mean, I'm sure you remember like when people first started hearing about COVID, like you didn't expect it to be as long as it lasted. No one expected it
Absolutely.
to still be a thing.
Yeah.
So by the time it came to like end of July, early August is like when I officially made the decision. And things were still so uncertain. Even then, I was like, I have no idea even what my industry is going to look like by the time I graduate. And just sort of the risk of even just like in terms of senior year being in college, like your social life,
Yeah.
like not being able, like, Wagner College is so ridiculously close to Manhattan. Like
Right.
we can just take the Wagner shuttle to the Staten Island ferry and then go anywhere. And even that was put on hold.
Right.
There were just a whole bunch of different factors, but the biggest one I think was especially in terms of training, it was just like I don't want to risk not having that experience, like being sent home, doing theater school online, like things like that.
Right.
A lot of those types of factors were really kind of it for me personally, at least.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I still took classes and stuff as well. I have been working at a family run grocery store since high school. So I worked there pretty much every single day making money and just like I still took online classes when I could. And it was kind of fun because I got to take them in things like I wouldn't have time for if
Right.
I was still at school. Because we were just talking about this earlier. Like college is amazing and fantastic and the opportunities are wonderful, but it's definitely time consuming
Mhm.
and can be in the best way possible sometimes overwhelming to the point where it can be difficult to find other sort of like little passions in between. So
Yeah.
like I took classes through the Upright Citizens Brigade while I was at home in sketch comedy writing and in improvisation.
We love
And
it.
it totally unleashed an entire new passion of mine. So
Yeah.
then it's like by the time I came back to Wagner, like I fully was in the comedy club for writing sketches for them and things like that. So and even to a point where I was like, being an actor is fun. I love musical theater. But if Lauren Michaels were to call me tomorrow to be on Saturday Night Live, like I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah, no, and it's
That's
really
like kind of the point it got to.
well, and it's funny that you brought up, like, sketch comedy because that's literally the next thing I was gonna, like, talk to you about, like,
Oh,
sketch
amazing.
comedy is a hard like,
It's hard.
we had an assignment on it, like, one of our last fun things in, like, in grad school, one of the classes I was
Mhm.
taking collaborative theater making, and that was that was we had to do like write a sketch on it. It's hard.
Mhm.
It's so
It
hard to
is.
like write it. I find it personally so much more fun to perform because I know what the writer's getting at, but writing it is so difficult. And so like
Yeah, it's like a
what got
science.
you yeah, it really is. It's really a formula in many ways
Mhm.
and like getting like throwing the formula out the window and getting laughs out of that, but like
Yeah.
what got you into writing sketch comedy and what draws you to sketch comedy over maybe like playwriting or comedy or
Mhm.
improv, because sketch writing is so particular.
It is. I think the biggest thing was even from when I was younger, I've just always enjoyed writing in general. Like I would in elementary school just write like short stories
Mhm.
and like all that kind of stuff all throughout high school. And then when I got to college, fell out of it a little bit, just like time management wise and things like that. But then junior year, took a playwriting class. And just sort of started exploring because I had the time in my schedule that semester, thank God, just to like explore so many things in theater on top of performing, like playwriting, directing, and
Yeah.
things like that as well. But when it came to writing, I really enjoyed playwriting. And then my mom had told me I need to credit the one and only Kim Bergen for this. I actually have so many things to credit her for, to be quite honest. She's probably watching this right now, being like,
Oh, I'm
yes,
sure.
you do.
You're
You're
like, you're
so right.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Exactly. But she had been telling me about Upright Citizens Brigade since I got to college because at the time, they don't anymore, unfortunately. They still have a training center out in Los Angeles, but they had one in New York City. And she was like, you should try to take classes there if you can. That could be really fun.
Yeah.
So it's always been in the back of my mind as something that's like, I definitely want to do this. It's just having the time to like get into the city to take a class.
Right.
So that was like one of the first things I remember when I decided to stay home. And I actually had this conversation with another angel woman professor, Michelle Pock, like right before
I
I
think
decided to
like
take
she's
the year
gonna
off.
come up in like every Wagner person's interview, and it's gonna
Probably.
be really, I love the running bit of it. I really
If
do.
it's not her, it's Wendy, if
Yeah,
not both of them,
yeah, yeah,
essentially.
exactly. Just like a healthy mix from my lovely theater performance friends.
100%. But she even was like, this is the time to explore creative interests you have outside of theater because theater is not the most easily accessible at the moment. And
Yeah.
I was like, you're totally right. And then mom mentioned Upright Citizens Brigade. What classes do they have? And they were all online. And I think really the biggest reason I went to sketch comedy writing was just because it's like writing is something I'm also very confident in. I was very comfortable with writing,
Mhm.
very just like something I was into on the opposite end of like the theater making creative spectrum essentially.
Yeah.
So I kind of just signed up for that just for kicks. And then as we started getting more into it, learning about like the different kinds of sketches, like
Mhm.
we started off with like just sort of pick something. Essentially, the whole point of it is like you find the game of the
Yes.
sketch, and
Yes.
then you sort of pick a story around whatever your game is going to be. And the sketch I wrote was a joke I made between a friend of mine because we were talking about disco fries, which is like the fries with the gravy, the mozzarella cheese, all the good stuff. And he had never heard of them before. And I was like, well, this is what they are. And I think I was kind of just like being smart about it, but I was like, if you want to picture like French fries roller skating to Earth, Wind, and Fire, then like, sure, but this is what they actually are. And he was like, wait, that's hilarious. And I'm like, you are correct. And I wrote it. So then from there, we worked and went to like commercial sketches. I'm like political sketches, parody sketches, all that kind of stuff. And each week would learn about the new one, watch a couple of sketches for inspiration, and then bring it in the following class. And it was that cycle for about 8 weeks. About 2 months was the class.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's long, but I think that's a really wonderful way to be able to practice it so often is
Hmm.
by practicing it and practicing it again.
Exactly.
And crossing fingers, we're gonna share our screen again because we don't. Here's the thing: I don't have video of this because it wasn't created in video form, but I have a little clip of a sketch that
Oh my
you
God.
wrote. So
Oh man.
yeah, so gonna listen to a little bit of this. I guess we're gonna call it a radio play of yours
Yeah,
called Date Night. If you want to give us a little bit of setup for what it is before I pull it up on screen, go for it.
absolutely. So Date Night is a play that I wrote back in fall of 2019 during my playwriting class. And it was supposed to be performed in the Originals Festival in 2020 that Wagner College does every year. But unfortunately, that did get canceled. But my friends who were in the directing class still wanted to do like a radio play type of thing with the two plays that were going to be picked for originals. So Date Night in particular is this girl who is on a Tinder date that is just going so poorly. And her waitress just sort of becomes like her confidant and like just sort of the angel devil on her shoulder, sort of being like, blink twice if you need help type of thing. Until there's like a fun little twist at the end. Should I say what the twist is? Are we going to get that far?
I would say not, because I'm just taking a nice little clip in the middle to really show the beginnings of it going
Perfect.
downhill. Yeah, no, I gotta say, if you get the chance, sit down and just like have it play while you're doing something, because it's such a fun, slow burn. It seems so casual and normal to begin with, and then things start slowly happening, and you're like, oh no. So this is just like a fun little clip of like where things are maybe perhaps starting to go wrong.
Lights up on a nice Italian restaurant. Something resembling King's Hills.
Gonna be a little bit of spreading here.
As soon as the wine's fine.
Here we go.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. They clink drinks and then take a sip of their wine. Josh, as soon as the wine hits his mouth, spits it back into the glass, a massive look of disgust on his face.
Oh my God.
What's wrong?
This wine tastes disgusting.
What do you mean?
It's just, I don't even know, it's so dry and gross. God, I don't even sure I can finish it.
I mean, a Cabernet is supposed to taste that way.
Seriously?
Have you never had it before?
Well, no, but it's my mom's favorite wine, so I assumed it'd be good. Obviously, I was wrong. I'll get something different when our waitress comes back to take her order.
I mean, I'll drink it. It's fine.
All right, if you insist.
Josh slides the bottle closer to Emily and then opens the menu.
Do you think they have spaghetti and meatballs here?
Well, it's an Italian restaurant, so I'd be shocked otherwise. Hannah comes back over, notepad in hand.
All right, guys, you still need a little more time?
No, I think we're ready. But before we order, I wasn't a huge fan of the wine.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Could I just get a pure White Claw whenever you get a minute? And then for food, I'll start with the mozzarella sticks and then get the spaghetti and meatballs, please.
Okay. One White Claw.
I forgot about the White Claw.
The White Claw makes me laugh so much.
I was just like, what is the worst thing a person could order? Because in my head too, it takes place in an Italian restaurant.
Right.
And in my mind, I picture kind of like a Carmine's-esque, like super.
To turn down to be like, oh yeah, I'll order a Cabernet, and then realize his taste is perhaps mostly only White Claw is so funny.
I made him a mama's boy.
Yeah,
9 times out of 10, he mentions his mom.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. So definitely get a chance to like listen to the whole thing when you get the chance. Really quick to credit the people who worked on that. I saw Alyssa Saylor, who was your director, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing.
The best. The best. And then
so wonderful. And then the actors, yes.
The actors, we've got Kayla Fegley, Kate Durgan, and Josh Romeo Mullen as well. And they were Saylor truly just like basically she took my baby and ran with it, and she did it so beautifully. I was very, very happy with it.
Yeah, no, it sounds so fun, and you had such a great little cast for it. But yeah, I'm gonna try sharing that first clip again in a bit, but for now, I'm gonna hop to some Instagram questions because we got some. We posted on the Instagram at Overtures Show on Instagram, and so we got a few questions for you. First,
amazing.
And I even made little banners for it so you can see the question on the screen. So first,
I love it.
From Liam Abate. Have you ever hit a creative burnout, and what's your strategy for getting out of it?
Oh,
I know it's a toughie.
That is a toughie. Thank you, Liam. That's such a good question.
Right?
I definitely have. Even if it's just sort of like a writer's block type of burnout, if it's like I feel like especially lately, just like sort of post-COVID, like things are opening up again theater-wise and things like that, and truly just like hitting the ground running, kind of like how it was pre-COVID.
Right.
I was talking about this the other day actually in one of my rehearsals for a show I'm doing right now. It really hit. It was like people's stamina, regardless of like if they're the ones on stage, the ones writing, whatever, isn't what it was before. So it's definitely something I've been like working on since being back at school. I think my strategy for getting out of it is just like, honestly, sometimes I just need to step away, just be like, okay, take the time off. And then usually I will try to find other things that inspire me creatively, whether that be like every now and then I go down the YouTube rabbit hole of like some of my favorite performers. Like I cannot tell you like how many times I've gone down like the Mare and Maisie rabbit hole on YouTube, just watching her videos. Or even just watching like one of my favorite TV shows, especially when it came to like the sketch comedy, for example, because that especially there were just some weeks when I was like, this isn't funny and
Yeah.
it's due tomorrow. What is happening? And I would just go watch I Think You Should Leave or Portlandia or something just to like sort of still be like thinking about it, but then just sort of be like also something kind of like mindless and remind me why I am doing it anyway.
Mhm.
And then quite honestly, sometimes if it gets like that to that point of burnout, sometimes just like a good nap or meditation and things
Yeah.
like that to just sort of ground myself again and then hit the ground running, get back to being focused on whatever it is I need to do.
Yeah, sometimes you need to veg out, play a video game, enjoy social time, eat. So
I
many
feel
times
like
it's like, oh wow, I haven't eaten today, you know?
I do that on accident quite a lot. I really do. And it's just sort of like the nature of the beast, I feel like, especially in theater. Again, like regardless
Yeah.
on what end of theater you are working on at the moment. But on there's like truly, I think, especially after for everybody, like sort of having the time during COVID to like recoup and sort of
Mhm.
take a step back, a lot more importance on self-care, mentally, physically, and emotionally, just being like, okay, like what are my boundaries? How far can I go once I start feeling burnout before I like really need to step back and things like that? And what do I need to do to rebound afterwards? So
Yeah, everyone getting to know their
definitely,
scales a little bit better.
exactly,
But
which I
yeah,
definitely think has been key as well.
yeah, absolutely. So next question from Angelica. What
Ooh.
is something freshman year Lauren would be proud of you for?
Oh, this is another good
I
question.
know, it's so good.
Oh my God. I think she would be, I think she'd be proud of the growth because there were definitely some times when like, and I feel like this is again kind of the nature of the beast, especially like freshman theater majors. Like you come back from a class sometimes, whether it be anything, any type of class, just feeling kind of defeated. Like really, I know for me, there were some times when I would just like go so overboard with trying to do my best that I would like crash and burn even harder and be like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And it could be incredibly frustrating, especially like just seeing and then like comparing yourself to others, not in like a way of jealousy or things like that, but even just sort of being like, why can't I belt like this person? Why can't I dance like that person? And even though again, like everybody comes in at different levels to begin with, but that's just sort of something I feel like I definitely struggled with when I first got here for sure.
Yeah.
But I think she would be proud of the growth and the direction that her life has been heading in because especially like freshman year Lauren honestly would not ever think to take a playwriting class. That was just something junior year Lauren that was like, okay, I'm in a rut. I need to do something creative that's not strictly performing. What
Yeah.
can I do? And like the different doors that have opened because of not being afraid to take those opportunities. I
Yeah.
think she'd be proud of.
And
That's such a deep question.
I know what I love about that is that your answer was so focused on like the personal stuff too, and
Mhm.
not necessarily like, oh, I'm proud of myself for achieving this, but like I am proud of this thing that I did for myself personally. And I think
Mhm.
that's really indicative of who you are as a person. And just like I don't know, not to like gush on you for a second, but you're always like a big cheerleader for people, but also like you're always really great to ground people and being like, Lauren,
Mhm.
all this stuff is happening, help. And you're like, well, here's the thing, you're fine, you're good. And it's
Yeah.
I think that answer was really indicative of that. So
Thank you. I try to be grounded. And then it's just like sometimes I just need to remind myself of that too. Like I need to
yeah,
be able to like take my own advice sometimes.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Literally, but
Okay.
yeah.
This is one last question, and it might be my favorite one. I kept this as a surprise
Okay.
from Lauren. I didn't
You
tell her
did.
the other questions earlier, but I told them who they were from just because she was curious. But this one, she has no clue. This is from Crazy Mabel. Who's your favorite pet?
It's Mabel.
It's Mabel.
Everyone, that's her Instagram. So everyone needs to follow it.
Yeah, go follow Lauren's dog.
Not saying that, you know, spending time with her and my mother, not saying that my mother did not get me through the pandemic, because oof, she knows that she did. But Mabel almost single-handedly got me through
we all
my
need an
cat
animal
year.
in our life. We all need an animal in our life.
She is truly the best. And then like I'll just be texting my mom and she'll just text me pictures of her out of nowhere. I'm like, do you want me to be sad? Because I miss her.
Are you trying to do this with me?
I know, literally, but that's hilarious. Thanks,
But
man.
no, I figured you would enjoy that final Instagram question that I had.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Cool. With that, I'm gonna try and go back to see if we can get some of music that makes me dance. So I'm going to first share my screen, and we're gonna see if we can get that clip one more time. Now that we seem to be doing pretty good thus far. Gotta get her to the right time here.
I was truly living like my Fanny Bryce. Oh, the self tapes. I need to clean up my YouTube.
This is the only music that makes me dance. This is the only music that makes me dance.
It's such a good clip.
I love that. That song truly also, when I first started learning, it gave me so much anxiety for like no reason. Just because like, I mean,
well, it's Fanny Bryce. There's always going to be that like, Barbara Streisand, you know. Like,
I know. I was truly like, I'm going to live my Fanny Bryce dreams during this.
I am so excited for Beanie Feldstein. Oh my God. I can't wait.
I will be spending so much money on that show. I really will.
Honestly, I need to listen to more Funny Girl because like anytime I think of Funny Girl, all I can think of is like Rachel on Glee being like, you know what I mean? And like I need to like actually know the musical as itself, but like that song is stunning. So catch me.
The movie
popping on Spotify after this.
The movie also is truly one of my favorite movies. I have never seen a production of Funny Girl live, which is such a crime. But I mean, come April 2020, I'll be spending my entire bank account on it. Essentially,
we'll go together.
Exactly. But the movie, like, it's funny. I joked about this half jokingly because it's terribly true. How like most kids, and this just shows how much of a nerd I am. Like, you know, grow up with like Disney movies, which I did, but like. I was the kid that like I was also watching like Oklahoma when I was 9. I like the movie like and Funny Girl for sure.
Music Man and Godspell. So like I feel that real hard.
Yeah, exactly. But Funny Girl.
Young Victor Garber, chef's kiss. So like yeah,
exactly.
Also, just, exactly. Also, I just want to put this out there that I love the full circle moment of like, oh yes, we'll go see Funny Girl together when like the basis of our friendship honestly was like I had an extra ticket to A Bronx Tale and you were like, yeah, we'll go.
I will never forget that. You literally were like, who wants to see 2-for-1 Broadway show with me? Yeah. I was just like, me. You're like, okay.
I was like,
now
cool.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I love that for us.
I do too.
Yeah. But talking about like some like upcoming things, events, endeavors in general. First, you're getting your real estate license. What made you decide to pursue this?
Once again, Kim Bergen. But no, I definitely like
claps for Kim Bergen.
I feel honestly, but like taking the year off of school, I will say, and another reason I'm honestly very grateful I took the year off, August of 2020, I had never been more certain in my life of exactly what my life was going to look like, exactly what I was going to do, the whole 9 yards. October 2020, I had no clue.
Yeah.
I truly did, because I just sort of took a step back and I was like, everything is changing. Even like at the time, like that was when I was like super hardcore sketch comedy too. I'm like, my interests are slightly changing. I am doing more straight plays. I also had gotten a background acting gig on Mayor of Easttown, literally my favorite show. But I was like suddenly eligible to join SAG and was learning how TV and film worked. And I was like, there are so many other, not that TV and film is like any easier to break into than like musical theater. I mean, I say that like it's 10 times easier, but I was like, so many other avenues are opening. And just like thinking about what my life was going to look like post graduation. And she had brought up the idea of getting my real estate license, because I knew I wouldn't really be able to move into the city without having a job or getting a job very soon after.
Right.
And we had done
The
some
side
research. Say that again?
The side hustle.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And we actually looked up places like Bohemia Realty, where some Wagner grads, like all of
Shout out
those were
to
to get
Kim
their apartments.
Weinstein.
Literally. But like, I remember specifically during the pandemic too, at the time, they were like, actors, we want to hire you. And like a lot of the people that work there are very creative people. And I even saw like Broadway people, a couple of them becoming real estate agents to sort of make ends meet. And some of them are still doing that on top of auditioning. So we figured it's a flexible enough job. However, I won't be homeless when I graduate college and I can pay off my loans.
Exactly.
What a concept. And so I just sort of figured, like, why not?
Yeah.
Can do a course online, which it took me forever to do. It really did. Because sometimes between work like 8 hours a day, like 40 hours a week. Some days there are truly only so many hours I can like learn about taxes before I'm like, I need to clock out. I need to go to bed. But I finished the course, and while I was at Wagner, I took my final course exam and passed. And then over winter break, I'm starting to like reach out to real estate agencies for sponsors and things like that, so I can take my official salesperson exam before I come back to school at the end of January.
That's so exciting. I was just about to ask, like,
Yeah.
how was it in the process? And I knew you had taken a test, but I wasn't sure where it was, where
Yeah.
it fit in like the timeline of becoming a real estate agent. So that's so exciting.
Yeah. And I've got like, I'm starting to reach out to different places, see like what might be a good fit, and then I'll take my salesperson exam. Yeah, hopefully in January is the goal. I have until February to take it, but I'd love to get it done over my winter break and then come back, hit the ground running for spring semester, and then audition for some places and also apply to a couple of agencies, and then try to move into the city by like the fall.
Ah, how
If
exciting.
not sooner. Yeah. Which is
And
crazy.
then also simultaneously with all of this other stuff, you're in rehearsals. You're in
Yeah.
rehearsals. So Let Us Go On, a dance concert at Wagner, which will be running from December 2nd through the 5th. How's rehearsals going?
Rehearsals are going really well. They have been super fun.
Good.
I am in a tap piece, modern piece, and a musical theater piece.
Oh,
And
I
it
love
all
that.
relates to, I know it's so fun. It all relates to like the theme of community and how community has sort of like changed and formed and grown, especially over the past year and a half that we have all been going through. And the pieces are just like so rewarding to be a part of. And we officially start tech rehearsals Monday.
Wow, that's
Which
coming
is
up
crazy.
quick.
Yeah, I know.
You're like, oh, like, wow, December's coming up quickly too.
It's crazy, especially because like earlier in the semester, I was very fortunate to like be in Small Mouth Sounds, and then all of a sudden it was like, that's over. Oh, how am I already going into rehearsals for this? Which was like a week after that closed, and now it's like, how am I already going into tech for this show? Like time doesn't exist anymore. I feel like
it
they're
flies
not
by.
enough.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. But how can people get tickets?
You can go to the Wagner College Theater website. Typically, as of right now, what they are doing is you can reserve tickets by emailing boxoffice@wagner.edu. I do think that the tickets might change a little bit for the system. They had a system because they're following all the same guidelines like everything that Actors Equity is doing for Broadway, we are doing
Beautiful.
here as well. I mean,
Yay.
Wagner kind of did that. Yeah, Wagner did that anyway to sort of like, prep people for what it will be like in the real world when they're in the union and things like that. But for COVID safety reasons and things like that, they had people reserving tickets ahead of time, but now they're sort of organizing it a little bit differently, I think, for this show. But as of right now, ticket information will also eventually come up on the Wagner College Theater website. Honestly, probably within the next week, since
Wonderful.
we open so soon.
So just make sure you're vaccinated, email the box office, check out the website, and you're covered. You're covered. You're
pretty
good.
much, yeah.
I'm crossing fingers that I can come see, but if not, you'll need to send me all the lovely videos and things like that.
Of course.
I'll enjoy all of it. But yeah, we're actually reaching the end of this stream, which is wild because again, time flies when you're having fun. In terms of like social media and things like that, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram just at Lauren Bergen. That is what I use the most. That's what I use mostly to connect with different people. And in terms of other media, I do have my website, laurenbergen.com. And once I clean my YouTube channel, because that is definitely like my winter break project, I do post stuff on YouTube as well, both like performances and like sketches and things like that as well. So you can look for media on there as well.
Hooray! I love that. I love that. We'll need to sit down and figure out a time that we can like read your sketches out loud or something, just to like
absolutely
hear it out loud and that kind of stuff. But yeah,
I would love that.
I'll figure something out with that soon. But yeah,
beautiful,
wonderful, yay! We'll check you out on all of those social medias, all the websites, all the good stuff. For me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Lora_Marjoram. It's also my Twitch name, so if you're not sure how to spell it, you can reference that. I don't post a whole lot on Twitter, but you can rely on me for Instagram. And I also have a website, www.loramarjoram.com, quick, dirty, easy. And then you can find this show on Instagram at Overtures Show. Yes, there's 2 S's. It looks strange, but I promise you're all good to go. That's where I post all of my updates for when I'm streaming, who's there, who's coming with me, and all that kind of good stuff. And then if you are wanting to watch this again, I guess, or find the not live version of this, you'd be finding it on YouTube. You can just search Overtures Show, or if you are Twitch handy, like this stream is going out to right now, you can find all the previous videos here on Twitch. So they'll both live on both forms of it. So then my next stream is actually this upcoming Tuesday, so coming up pretty quick, November 23rd at 6 p.m. with a friend of mine, Ray Hill. I'm so excited to interview them. It's going to be my first not Wagner guest, but it's going to be such a blast. They're so cool. Stage management, props, all the things. They're really awesome. But yeah, Lauren, do you have any final thoughts for viewers live and in the future?
Not that I can think of today. Just thank you for having me. This was absolutely lovely to catch up with you and talk about these things. It's so funny to me that like we've never actually gotten into these conversations before. So this is so fun.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. I'm like realizing that as I go into each of these, I'm like, I don't know that I've ever like talked to like why, because we always did it in directing class with Mickey, hence like the creation of this show. But it's so fun to get to talk to people that I've known for years now and be like, wait, how did you get into this? How are you here? How are you here? But it's so lovely. I'm so glad I was able to have you on here. You're such a
I'm so happy too.
My fellow mom friend. Yes, so much love. And with that, I hope everyone has a great night. We're going to end the stream here, but have a great time. And if you're seeing us later on, hello. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and have a great night.